CAIR's 2021 mid-year report tries to make the case for the creation of an Islamophobia envoy. As can be seen here, Ilhan Omar wants the envoy to have the force of law.
I will also be introducing legislation that gives this envoy the force of law.
So let's look at CAIR's evidence of the rise in Islamophobia that warrants the creation of a special envoy. Let us know in the comments section if you think CAIR has made a case for the need of an anti-Islamophobia envoy. On January 4th, a tweet from Lori Maslow caught CAIR's eye. CAIR claims she said Palestinians will be wiped off the face of the earth. She has apologized, taken down the tweet, resigned her position, and has agreed to take sensitivity courses. Why is this in CAIR's report? Isn't this evidence that we don't need an envoy? Because this appears to be handled.
A teacher at the prestigious LaGuardia High School in Manhattan harassed a student who is Muslim, calling her a terrorist.
He was like, "Oh, I thought you were practicing how to pick locks." And I said, "I don't need to practice that, because why would I practice that?" And he said, "Because you're a terrorist." Every time I walked into that classroom, I just felt ashamed of myself and my religion and my identity.
Will the envoy encourage her not to indulge in self-pity like this? It's also worth noting that CAIR has also objected to a dance routine at LaGuardia High.
Ahmed Mohammed is the legal director at the civil rights organization CAIR.
We want a fair and impartial investigation into the incident. This is an Islamophobic incident. We want the Department of Education to take it seriously.
This can't be the kind of thing that the envoy would become involved in. We know CAIR wants to be taken seriously. If only they gave us more reason to do that.
An Alabama man, his truck was parked near the Capitol illegally. They found several guns, 11 homemade ammunition, 11 homemade bombs. You were named in a handwritten note, according to the indictment. And next to your name, the note says, quote, "one of two Muslims in the House of Representatives."
I receive death threats all the time, Aaron, as well as Ilhan and Rashida.
His name is in the letter, but that's about it. While being promised evidence of the need for a special envoy, we are somehow left expecting more. A threatening letter was sent to the Islamic Center of Hawthorne in California. The letter ended with, "Your religious services and rituals to praising silly Muhammad is inconceivable and intolerable to me." It doesn't take an envoy to tell you that this was a hoax.
Now, a 35-year-old Albany man arrested and charged for weapons and for menacing with these guns after allegedly threatening people at two stores Tuesday night simply because they're Muslim.
35-year-old James Davis was arrested and charged after allegedly making racist threats to employees at two separate corner stores. Police believe this could be the weapon used during the incidents. Davis also goes by Minette Utep El Day. We've covered stories with him at local Black Lives Matter protests.
Right now, it doesn't rise to the level of a hate crime.
We're not U.S. citizens. We're the American. We're the Moorish Americans.
Is the envoy going to do anything about the Moorish Americans?
The man is facing bias crime charges after police say he went on a rampage inside a Southeast Portland gas station. Video shows him throwing items at the clerk, shouting anti-Muslim slurs.
How we do things in America, Afghan? Al-Qaeda? Osama? Huh? Is it? You scared to film me? I'll grab that cat right out of your hand, dude.
A gas station cashier in Southeast Portland grabbed his cell phone Friday night to record what was unfolding in front of him.
Let's call this the barter system. $5. You can owe me. You can owe me. You call the cops. I'm an easy man to find.
That cashier quickly called 911.
Someone hit me and I got. Yeah, he took. Okay, he destroyed the store. He destroyed the store. Where is cop? Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my!
It's not just the person that attacked them, but why were they empowered? Why do people think this way? And it's because they feel like they can get away with it.
Well, the envoy will take care of that. A Middle Eastern man in his 50s was berated and hit with a laptop by a woman in Palo Alto, California. Don't expect to see a lot of stories about people hitting Muslims with a laptop in Palo Alto. This unusual story is not an example of a need for an envoy.
Now, a death threat made against the Florida chapter of the Council on American-Islamic Relations.
The FBI will not confirm nor deny that they've launched an investigation, but that is standard. Ruiz tells us that he has noticed an uptick in inflammatory and threatening language.
After Joe Kaufman wrote an article documenting Wilfredo Ruiz's anti-Semitic statements, Ruiz used a random internet comment to distract from the contents of the article. Unless the proposed envoy is going to address CAIR's excesses, then the creation of such an agency will only hurt the country. A school district in Texas implemented an educational curriculum that included anti-Palestinian rhetoric. I leave it to the viewer's imagination as to what the envoy would do with this.
As soon as she put in your middle name, lots of times, sir.
Why? Because Muhammad, my middle name? What's wrong with my middle name?
Sir?
What's wrong with my middle name?
There's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. But there's lots of people that someone with your name might be on a no-fly list.
Very annoying. And just another example of how since Muslims began hijacking planes and flying them into buildings and trying to blow them up, everybody is suffering. In New Jersey, a school board member posted offensive cartoons to Facebook. And even though he apologized, CAIR still includes it in their report. A woman of Somali origin was reportedly forced by deputies to remove her religious headscarf while in custody. This is another example of something that is being handled. Authorities are cooperating with CAIR. There's no need for an envoy. This is one of several incidents in CAIR's report that features Ilhan Omar. Forming an envoy position because Ilhan Omar is getting criticism is a terrible idea. This is a story that has no details like who, what, where, when, why, or how. This is not evidence of a need for an envoy.
That's good enough.
Liar.
One more.
A civil rights group is calling for justice after learning about verbal and physical attacks on a Muslim family in Anne Arundel County. The Maryland office of the Council on American-Islamic Relations shared this video with us and says the most recent attack happened on November 6th. A family member was leaving their home when a neighbor approached him and verbally and physically assaulted him. The man's hand was cut with an object and his knee was hurt as well. The families told CAIR about a pattern of harassment and abuse by their neighbor, and they say it started back in 2017.
They have, limited their movements. They're not sleeping well at night. It's just a really kind of a tense situation for them. And the fact that this is a neighbor and somebody who they have to see and encounter pretty much every day.
This is a truly terrible story in which CAIR contributes nothing and makes a fool of themselves.
Last month, 21-year-old Nafia Ikram was ambushed in her Elmont driveway. Someone ran after her and threw a cup of acid at her, burning her face, one of her eyes, throat, and arms.
Nafia is a Pakistani-American Muslim.
That has to raise a specter, an inference, and an investigation has to be conducted.
But the family's not convinced.
The reason I think is not hate crime, why they did not throw on my wife.
If this was a hate crime, we're both the same religion and same culture. Why didn't the person throw the acid on both of us?
I think that in 2021, such attacks like this would not happen. We live in New York. This is something that you hear about in foreign land.
It is too soon to call this a hate crime since police have not even arrested anyone yet.
Hate spray painted on a Minnesota mosque. Police and federal authorities are investigating in Moorhead, Minnesota.
Minnesota's chapter for the Council on American-Islamic Relations is calling on authorities to label the mosque graffiti as a hate crime.
An Islamic advocacy group says the Muslim community in the Fargo-Moorhead area is offering forgiveness to a man accused of vandalizing a mosque last month.
Regret what I did. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life.
We are human beings. We all make mistakes, and we have to be able to forgive each other. Love and our faith teaches us to forgive each other and forgive others, and that's what we want to display in this moment. So if we're seeking forgiveness from God, then it's best for us to also forgive, actually provide good forgiveness to those who need it from us as well.
But by the end of July, CAIR shows that they haven't forgiven anything.
Now, the Center for American Islamic Relations says they're now calling for the FBI to look into Enderle's background and ties, as they claim Enderle was affiliated with a hate group. In a statement, the group said, quote, Enderle was allegedly working with accomplices in a hate group who possess an arsenal of weapons. We urge the FBI to investigate potential threats these individuals may pose to the local Muslim community.
We're learning new details about a disturbing attack on a North Penn high school student. The 16-year-old says this brawl, caught on camera, was not the first time she was targeted because of her religion.
A fight between Buford and two other girls at the school that was captured on video and posted online. Buford claims during the brawl, her hijab, her religious head covering, was purposely torn off by one of the students. Adding insult to injury, it occurred during the holy month of Ramadan.
A hijab to a Muslima is probably the most sacred and most powerful thing that we have on our body.
Community leaders are protesting charges against a Montgomery County high school student involved in a school fight,
rallying against what they see as unjust impending criminal charges against Sanaa. That all three of the girls were found responsible for the fight and all were charged with mutual combat assault. The totality of the Tawaminson Police Department's investigation and found no evidence that racial or religious bias motivated this fight.
We're learning new details tonight about an attempted stabbing at a local mosque that prompted calls for stepped-up security. Fairfax County Police confirm an arrest in this case. They tell us that Jonathan Lincoln is now charged with assault and disorderly conduct. They say he tried to stab a security guard here at the Islamic Center in Falls Church. He then allegedly pointed the knife at several other people during the incident yesterday. No one was hurt, and we don't have a motive in this case. The Council on American Islamic Relations is urging all mosques in the region to be on high alert.
In Brooklyn, hateful prejudice reared its head. Vandalism at a mosque with a vile slogan written on the front.
Hate crimes in New York are up 71%, driven largely by anti-Asian bias crimes, which are up a staggering 376%. Anti-black crimes are up 70%, but anti-Semitic crimes are down 7%. And anti-Muslim crimes are unchanged. This is the first anti-Muslim hate crime so far this year. Let's hope it's the last.
New perspective on the incident where multiple demonstrators were pepper sprayed at a pro-Palestine rally in Fresno. The suspect in the case, Brian Turner, faces felony charges for allegedly using pepper spray on demonstrators. And tonight, we're learning he's now facing a hate crime enhancement.
According to Rob Beckwith of the Fresno police, the subjects in the victim's vehicle actually initiated the contact with the suspect. One of the suspects in the vehicle exited the victim's vehicle and began approaching the suspect's vehicle in a somewhat aggressive manner. The suspect, Mr. Turner, produced pepper spray and discharged the pepper spray at the subject. When the alleged victims retreated back to their vehicles, Turner sprayed them again. While the first spraying could be self-defense, the second time would not be.
And the alleged victims are being represented by the Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR. The organization is pushing to have hate crime charges officially filed against Brian Turner.
CAIR includes two separate incidents about Ilhan Omar on the same day in their report.
$2,000 reward being offered tonight to the vandals who damaged that mosque in Brentwood on Long Island.
The burning of a flag outside the mosque.
This is not a normal flag. You know, when somebody touches it, everybody touches it with love and respect. So we can't imagine somebody coming and burning it when we are spreading the message of love.
It is actually the fourth time the mosque has been targeted, although the last time was back in 2016. And police tell us Suffolk County hasn't seen any mosques vandalized in the last 3 years.
A threatening email was sent to the Islamic Center of Charlotte in North Carolina from the son of Satan. However, the FBI is reported as saying the letter doesn't rise to the level of threat that the FBI could charge or arrest someone.
Now to the story of an Uber driver being harassed by his passenger, a Cincinnati man now charged with ethnic intimidation for telling the driver that he hopes he gets shot and then calls him the N-word.
Yeah, Chris, the Council for American Islamic Relations, also known as CAIR, says the assault happened here at the intersection of Glen Parker and Hamilton on May 28th. Ahmad says he didn't know where he was, but Winterman didn't believe him.
If you don't go tell me, guess what? I'm not getting out of your car.
Winterman stayed in the car for about 3 more minutes before eventually getting out of the vehicle with some racially charged words.
I hope the hell you get shot.
Uber drivers continue to experience racist attacks, and yet nothing has been implemented. And we are calling on Uber to make these changes that ensure that when these things happen, their drivers are protected.
A hate crime investigation underway after a Nassau teen was attacked at a Suffolk mall. The 8th grader speaking out tonight.
13-year-old Chaz Betty from Syosset says he's traumatized after being randomly attacked by a group of older teens on Saturday at the Walt Whitman shops in South Huntington. And he says he was singled out because of his appearance.
You shouldn't be targeted for anything that is different about you than everyone else. No one should be targeted for any reason at all.
Chaz says he was punched in the face while the attackers said racial slurs and also called him Mohammed. According to Suffolk police, the incident is being investigated as a hate crime. No arrests have been made so far, but if you know anything about this attack, you're asked to call their Crime Stoppers hotline.
A religious discrimination complaint's been filed against Southwest Airlines. This is after a Palestinian-American Muslim woman says that a flight attendant on board made her move out of the exit row because she was wearing a hijab.
I think they need to retrain their employees. I really do.
Training is not the problem. Racism is the problem. And the racism that this flight attendant showed is completely unacceptable.
A Palestinian-American community center is bombarded with threats.
Stop calling this number, please.
Yeah, you're a terrorist. There's blood on your hands. I'm a Jew. That's all you need to know, and that's all who am I speaking to? You guys aren't even a real country.
So we're hoping that politicians come out unequivocally and condemn the anti-Palestinian hate that seems to have gripped the nation.
If you want to stop the Palestinian hate, then stop telling lies about Israel committing genocide.
And the fact that our tax dollars are being used to help fund this oppression and this illegal occupation and this genocide of sorts.
Not another Ilhan Omar incident. How many is that now? 4?
And bullied over her graduation speech. The student, who was Muslim from the Wheatley School in Nassau County, urged fellow students to educate themselves about world issues, and she specifically mentioned the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians and Muslims. Well, that led to jeers from the crowd and for her family to be bullied.
Educate yourself about international dilemmas, including the ethnic cleansings of Palestinians and Uyghur Muslims. Families are continuously torn apart, and real human lives are being lost but ignored.
Our graduation ceremony had ended. My parents hadn't even reached me yet, but there were like grown adult men coming toward me, telling me my speech was a bunch of profanities. And thankfully there were people there to hold them back. Also boos and chants of we support Israel. And also there was a comment at me to go back to Pakistan. Ignored everything that happened to me, and the reaction that was extremely unprecedented from the parents, and instead went and apologized to them without acknowledging that behavior.
When absolutely nothing happened to her. And if anything, the Jewish students and families who were targeted at that event, and she was able to get away with that. We are the victims of these lies that have real consequences.
Correctional officers allegedly threw away an inmate's belongings, including legal documents, clothes, and a Koran. Unfortunately, there's no way of knowing whether this actually even happened.
A bizarre crime investigation tonight in Las Vegas with bacon as the weapon. A Muslim family says a neighbor smeared raw bacon on their home, and now he's been arrested.
Man with a strip of raw bacon, rubbing it all over their home.
The staircase, the railing,
the door frame, everywhere. And it was so unfortunate because when my kids came home earlier, you know, they had touched those places in order to enter. And we don't necessarily, bacon isn't our kryptonite. However, if anybody rubs meat on your surface and walls, then it would be uncomfortable.
Police identify him as Ricky Uwish, and he now faces charges of harassment, stalking, and being a nuisance. The family says he lives downstairs and claims he's called them names and caused problems before. This one was pretty blatant.
Now, Commissioner Kendrick Kenyon pressed Traubel on his writings this afternoon, specifically his criticism of COVID measures like mask mandates and the closure of things like churches, as well as race and politics. Here's some of what Traubel had to say.
Everyone has their personal politics and preferences. My difference is I wear it on my sleeve as I have in the book.
And would you as a sheriff?
No, and that's the difference. Because my preferences, my oath trumps my preferences. My professionalism trumps any preferences I have. I've never shortchanged anybody. I've never treated anybody different, and I'm proud of that. And it's been reflected over and over and over again.
But so what you write is, you're saying, is different than how you act in day-to-day business.
Absolutely. And I would say the same thing of judges and prosecutors and defense attorneys.
Dave Rochelle, Bakersfield police say 33-year-old Adrian Vasquez Aceves was arrested yesterday for threatening employees at a local restaurant, all because of their race. Wednesday afternoon, a man pulled out a knife at a local fast food restaurant, targeting its employees. 33-year-old Adrian Vasquez Aceves went up to several employees at the restaurant, asking about their nationalities and religions. Bakersfield police say, although hate crimes are not reported often, it's something the department does not take lightly.
Our hate crime statistics are extremely low.
That doctor wants to know how someone got her cell phone number and called her from a United number saying she was on that list.
It violates every level of professionalism, but it's also a violation of this woman's privacy and her civil rights.
She's scared for her family's safety.
I don't know how to protect my family from somebody who seems clearly unhinged. So what do I do?
She says the trouble began with a flight attendant after she changed her daughter's diaper in the lavatory.
And he said, "What did you just leave a diaper in the back of the plane? You can't do that. It's a biohazard."
So Khan says, humiliated, she fished the diaper out of the trash, but was later told by a crew member that's where the diaper needed to be disposed of.
It was a diaper. Baby's poop.
We also want federal law enforcement. We're pushing for federal law enforcement to aggressively prosecute unlawful acts of anti-Muslim hate crimes when law enforcement fails to act. Pushing for this special envoy to combat Islamophobia. Forces there that are trying to discredit Islamophobia as a form of racism. Everything we can to ensure that this form of racism doesn't get swept under the bus.
And yes, government pressure via a special envoy.
And we also hope to follow up with an actual legislation to give this some teeth.
Exactly.
Ilhan Omar and CAIR cannot solve certain problems in the world because their solutions involve getting authority to physically hurt you and your family. You have been warned, not by me, but directly from the Council on American Islamic Relations.
Exactly.